Know if if I'm not being sensitive enough.
You
Okay.
do you, and I'll respond accordingly. It's all
All right.
good. Yeah. All good.
All right. All right. So I'm speaking with Kevin Hines, and first thing I want to ask you, Kevin, is this, right? You know, the minute before you stepped off that bridge, right? I want you to sort of describe the despair or the sense of hopelessness that nothing could ever get better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that, please?
You bet. You know, I'd only been planning the suicide for the night before. Like,
You said you were.
I had only been planning the suicide off the Golden Gate from
The
the
night
night before.
before.
It wasn't on my mind before that. I was on this rocky road of skyrocketing into a manic episode, and then crashing into depression every Monday. I'd skyrocket into a manic episode, euphoric natural high, caused not by recreational drugs, but caused by imbalancing of chemicals in one's brain, synapses broken, things like that. So I would crash into a depression every Thursday or Friday. And I'm living with my dad, and he's in his room sleeping, and I'm in my room, and I haven't slept 14 days but 2 hours, which leads to psychosis all by itself. But I already had psychosis from bipolar, so this was just double, right? So I felt like bugs were crawling all over my skin, inside my skin. I was itching my body. I couldn't sleep for days, and on September 24th, I couldn't take it anymore. The lethal emotional pain was overwhelming. I believed I had to die. I believed I was useless. I believed I was worthless. I felt I had no value. I thought my parents and family hated me and wanted me gone. I thought my friends wanted me dead. I believed all this because of a malfunction in my brain, because of the disease. The disease is insidious. Your inner critical voice, masked with actual voices of hallucinations in your head, led me to go online and try to find a way to take my life. And that led me to the Golden Gate Bridge. And it said on the website, if you go to the Golden Gate Bridge and you jump off, you'll die on impact. Good luck! Exclamation point. These are websites that are intrinsically connected to deaths all over the world. They promote suicide. They're sick people, sick people, and they're connected to deaths all over the world. They're almost connected to mine. And they need help, and they need to go to prison for killing a lot of people, but they won't because of freedom of speech. So I get in my dad's car. I get to the city college, but then I get to the bridge on a bus. And I'm on that bridge, and I'm over the rail, and I've been there now for 40 minutes crying like a baby. And bikers, joggers, tourists, and runners all go by me. Police officers searching for suicidal people went by me twice. I'm crying over the rail. Water's flowing to the waters below, right? And I'm standing there believing in my core, in my gut, that I don't deserve this life. And I'm believing that my only option is to die so the pain will stop. I had migraines every day because of the pain. It caused physical pain. Your body is physiologically connected to your brain, so every aspect of your brain affects every aspect of your body and vice versa. So when we pretend people who are brain sick or brain unwell or mentally ill are not going through it, when people don't understand it, and all the kids I meet in high schools whose parents say, "This is not real, it's all in their head." They tell me that all the time. Parents who are supposed to protect and serve their children, those kids become U.S. military officers, right? So I'm on that bridge, and I think I have to die, and I think there's no other way.
Okay.
I'm in a tunnel vision, and Dr. Thomas Joyner called it a constricted thinking, where all I see is death, and I can see nothing else. My blinders are on, you know?
Okay.
It's a long answer.
Gotcha. So your medical condition,
Yeah.
Kevin.
Yeah.
You're diagnosed with what?
Bipolar disorder type 1 with psychotic features.
With what?
Bipolar disorder type 1 with psychotic features. That means I don't just have bipolar disorder, but I have hallucinations, auditory, and visual, and paranoid delusions.
All right, good now. Briefly, right? You don't have to, you don't have to elaborate. You just say,
Oh, I thought you wanted me to, sorry.
No, well, I got a little bit of that in the speech.
Oh, I see.
All right,
Okay.
so
Oh,
good.
fair enough. Okay, cool.
So I just want you to tell me, like, briefly how you got well. How did you get well enough to sort of, first of all, save your life and also thrive in your life?
I worked harder than anybody else I knew who had mental illness. In my third psych ward stay, I realized that
And your what?
in my third psych ward stay of 7,
Yeah.
forced psych ward stay, I had an epiphany. I realized that if I don't fight tooth and nail every day for my mental health, then I'm going to die.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to die. I'm going to die by my hands if I don't fight for my brain health every day. And so I started eating healthily when I was overweight. I was near diabetic. I was a big guy, and I started eating healthily, and I started fixing my gut health, fix my brain health, because a lot of parts of your brain. It's odd, but the membranes lie in your gut, and they affect your brain affects them. So if you're eating poorly, if you're consuming poor nutrition every day, you're poisoning your mind.
Gotcha. I got that message right there.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Do you also work out as well?
I exercise multiple times a day, every day, between 13 and 23-minute increments a day.
So for you, this is connected with thriving in life.
Yeah.
Right?
If I don't get to work on the ground with my hands and feet, I can't live.
All right, good enough.
All right, man.
So you said, just like you said, just to summarize, right?
Yeah,
you said
exactly.
you work harder than anybody else who had mental illness.
That I knew at the time, yeah.
Which means that, you took care of your body. How did you take care of your mind?
Yeah, so it was really related to gut health. So I started eating foods that don't inflame your brain.
And so you started feeling better as a result of eating more healthy foods?
Yeah. So here's it's important. Like there are hundreds and hundreds of foods that inflame the brain. They swell the brain. When you swell your brain, it causes mood fluctuation, negative mood, depression. It can cause paranoia. It can cause hallucinations. These are all the symptoms of many, many mental illnesses, right? So if we eat foods that don't inflame our brain, those symptoms literally go away.
Right, good enough. So you also talked about, in some ways, I thought you were talking about meditation.
Yeah, I was.
All right, so then sort of talk about how this plays into your thriving in life.
Breathe, man. You got to breathe. Most Americans statistically are not breathing properly every day, all throughout the day. And when you don't breathe properly, it's very simple. Your brain function fails.
All right. I got you on that part.
Yeah.
So what are you advocating? Are you advocating meditation? Are you advocating breathing right? What are you talking about?
I'm advocating breathing right so you can right your mind. So it's like all of these things are part of a plan. Right?
Got it.
And so if you breathe properly, eat healthily, educate yourself as to your diagnosis if you have one, every single book you can find on the topic, you can mitigate your mental health. You can find a way to heal it.
So when you talk about breathing properly, are you talking about meditating, or are you just breathing, at any time of the day?
No,
what are you talking about?
It's a routine.
Gotcha.
Meditation technique.
All right, good
through
enough.
breathing. Yeah, there we go.
All right, good enough.
Cool.
All right, good.
Gotcha.
So look, you've been all over the country now. You've probably talked to, you've talked to military audiences. You talked to, corporate America.
Every audience you can think of.
You've been around for a long, long time doing this,
18
right?
years,
And
yeah.
so then I got to ask you this, right? What have you learned? What do you know now that you didn't know, let's just say 10 years ago? What have you learned about this illness?
That it can destroy anyone at any time in their life if they cannot find a way to cope with the pain. That if we can't teach our kids resilience who become our military officers, then they can't survive in the military. And they'll die with their hands, and they'll continue to for the rest of our experience on this earth.
Okay.
And so if we can reach out to people who are not reaching in and not talking about their pain, and if we can reach them at their core and help them express what they're going through, pain shared is a pain halved.
All right, good enough. So look, one part of your discussion, right? This really stuck out to me. You said that pain is inevitable, right? But suffering doesn't have to be. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Yeah, it's a Confucius saying, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And I used to write about suffering all the time. It was my narrative. I suffered from this. And then I had this horrible experience in life recently, 30 weeks of excruciating pain, and I decided that I've never been in pain. I never suffered in my life. Pain is inevitable. I've been in pain my whole life since I was born, but I've never suffered a day in my life. Here's why. I'm the luckiest man on the planet. All right? The circumstances that surrounded my survival are ridiculous. A sea lion kept me afloat in the water. His name's Herbert. A sea lion kept me afloat in the water until the Coast Guard boat arrived behind me. A woman driving by in a red car who saw me go over called her friend in the Coast Guard, who happened to be manning the waters of the bridge, who got to me within 3 minutes before I'd set in hypothermia and drowned. The doctor who was supposed to be gone that day, one of the foremost back surgeons on the West Coast, he's leaving as I enter, he stays. He does my back surgery with his team. He cuts me open, 23 staple scar across my left side, goes to work, refits my back with metal because I shattered my T12, L1, L2, missed severing my spinal cord by 2 millimeters when I hit the water. So all these things came into play to save my life. And when you look at all of them separately, okay, maybe that's a coincidence, but 4, 5, 6 things that literally, if they didn't happen at the time they happened, I would be dead 5 times over. That I get to be here. And I have this rageful passion to try to help other people stay.
Okay. Now I'm a little confused though, Kevin, when
All
you
right.
say that you haven't suffered, because from hearing you talk, I mean, that's what I heard. I heard that, well, yeah, you maybe had some times where, you didn't suffer, but a lot of this was pain, and a lot of this was suffering. What do you mean when you say you haven't suffered?
My perspective has changed. I believe today that I am so lucky and blessed to exist so many times over. When I have chronic thoughts of suicide and they plague me on a regular basis, I think about it and I plan it, and then I go and I turn to my loved ones and I say, help me. I say, I need help now. And they help me.
Okay.
And they keep me there. They keep me safe, my wife mainly, my father second. Mm-hmm. They keep me alive when I'm in the pain. And so when I say I haven't suffered, it's a mindset. It's a decision I made.
Got you. Got you.
Yeah.
So look, today, would you say that you have pain today?
Hell yeah.
And is that pain any different than the pain that you endured, like, right before you made your attempt? Is it the same kind of pain? Or was it just something minor, something you can deal with? How would you describe it?
It fluctuates every day. Sometimes I'm in no pain. Sometimes I'm in a little pain. Mentally, sometimes I'm in a world of pain. Right now is number 3.
So you talked about, where you told folks, don't silence your pain.
Amen.
And that means sharing, right?
Every single time you're hurting for any reason that's brought about by anything, turn to someone who loves you or any individual who can empathize with pain and tell them your truth. Because if you share your pain, you can survive it. That's what I believe.
Okay. Hey, Kevin, look, man, this suicide problem, right? For as much, for the amount of resources the Army is putting into this, and the federal government, for that matter, right? You can argue that very little has changed.
You can argue that in the civilian population too.
I guess you can.
Yeah, man.
So what needs to change?
Well, I said it today and I mean it. I've been, when I travel and I do this, when I go home, when I get to my quiet place, I think about it all the time. It may be a grandiose statement. It may be out there and ridiculous. And I have bipolar disorder, so grandiosity is a big thing for me, right? I'd say things that sound crazy. But I believe by looking at the military and studying, literally reading the documents and reading what the DOD puts out and understanding it to the core, understanding the numbers and everything.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this for 20 years, and I couldn't figure it out. And I haven't figured it out, but I have an idea. I have an idea that I think will change the game.
What's the idea?
The idea is this. I talked to drill sergeants say words. Military officers repeat them. It is their defining culture, recidivism and repetition, to lead to a result of them being warriors and saving lives and changing lives and keeping us safe, right?
Right.
If we change the words the drill sergeants use in the very beginning and end of the drill sergeant drill, like their beginning of the run, the middle of
we call them cadence.
the cadence, yes, I forgot the name. The cadence. If you change the cadence in the beginning, the middle, and the end of the run to what I said here today, or something like it, that, see, the brain operates on keywords. Do you know what that means?
I do.
Like if you look at social media and you do algorithms with social media, you can define the keywords that save lives, and you can define the keywords in suicidal crisis that kill people. As in, that's why kids die by bullying, right? So you can pull out all the keywords that led people to suicide from bullying. When you go through the social media process and you look at everyone's feed, you can literally pull out the keywords that led to that kid's death. You can also pull out keywords that can lead to people always surviving.
All right, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
So what do you say to people who says, well, that's a little bit too simplistic? It's much more complicated than that.
Yeah, it's complicated as hell, but no one's tried this. We're saying the wrong things to our officers who are running the cadence and the cadence is wrong. You're teaching them to kill, to fight, to survive in physical form. You're not teaching them to survive mentally. If we repeat things in our brain, we retrain our brain. Conquer the inner critical voice. That means that everything that has ever been said to us negative, everyone that has ever hurt us physically, from childhood to adulthood, that stays in your brain for the rest of your life. It's in a pocket memory. It does not leave your brain. And when you are inflamed, when you're in pain, it flares up and it hurts you emotionally. Lethal emotional pain can be depleted and destroyed through repetition of words that have been scientifically proven to save people and give them the resilience they need to stay alive.
Kevin.
Yes, sir.
This idea that you have.
Yeah.
Have you proposed this to anyone?
This is the first day I said it out loud besides to my wife. Yeah. I've been trying to find a place to do it in. And when I looked at, I wasn't going to do it today. When I looked at the crowd of maybe 20 people, and there was nobody else in the big audience, I was like, this has got to be it. It's nothing I've written down. I wrote notes, but bullet points. But it's been on my mind for 20 years. How do we get to zero suicide in the military? I firmly believe this is it. And maybe that's grandiose, maybe that's crazy, maybe that's stupid, maybe it's simple, maybe it's dumb, but I believe it. I have been racking my brain. I have been reading the DoD's reports for years, and nothing that I proposed helped. I mean, it helped. It helped.
Gotcha.
Nothing I proposed said to me this flashing point like, this is it. And I went to sleep one night. Actually, it was when I was in that excruciating physical pain. It was when I decided I wasn't suffering anymore. I went to sleep because I could finally sleep after, I had some relief from the pain, finally, after 30 weeks. And I had a dream. And I was on a military base, and there were drill sergeants. And this dream came to me, and they're doing their cadence, which I didn't know what it was called. And it reminded me of a military movie I saw. I don't know when it was, but it was a military movie where their guys are running and they're doing the cadence, and it's like, and I listened to the words that were playing in my head in the dream, and it's not very audible. I can't repeat them, but it reminded me of that movie, right, that I saw. And I woke up, and I wrote down. I put in my notes I think it was in my phone. I wrote down repetition. The military repeats things. The officers yell it out. Okay, so I wrote this down. And I said, what if we repeated different things? What if we repeated that we were never going to die by our hands? If 21 days makes a habit of any action you take, which is a fact, it's a scientific fact. You do something for 21 habits, whether it's negative to you like addiction or whether it's brushing your teeth. It becomes habit and it becomes automatic.
Well, Kevin, look, there's some science behind that. I mean, there
is
various religions who do chants. Okay?
Buddhists,
and
particularly.
They've been doing this for thousands
of years.
Okay? So there's a lot of science behind this already.
What we say, we become, we believe, we are. If we say, I will never die by my hands, every single day, multiple times a day, I believe we will reach zero suicides in the military, and I believe it could work for civilians.
All right, good enough.
All right, brother.
So now look, Kevin.
Yeah, man.
You're gonna get some criticism for this.
Oh, a lot of it.
How are you gonna respond?
I'm gonna say, give it a shot and see what happens.
Okay. I'm gonna leave it right there.
All right, brother.
So this 30-week period that you were sick, when was this?
It was 50 weeks ago.
50 weeks ago.
Started 50 weeks ago.
Okay. What kind of condition were you diagnosed with at that time?
No condition. They couldn't diagnose it.
You were just in excruciating pain.
Yeah. What happened was the medication I was taking for 20 years to help me poisoned my gut.
Gotcha.
And my body reacted.
All right.
Yeah.
So look, I know that you're a health nut now, right?
Yeah, man.
But you also have to take medication, right?
I have to take a little bit because I can't function if I don't.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you, man. That was a hell of an interview. You're amazing. That's the best interview I've ever heard. Can I take a picture with you? All right, real quick. Here, there's a video. So, all right, this is T. T for Terrence. He's the best interviewer I've ever had. He's a seriously cool guy. And T, thank you very much for asking me the right questions to get to the positive answers. And we hope it can change the world. All right?
All right. You're
Thanks,
welcome,
T.
brother.
All right, take care, man. I'll see you. Can I post that?
You can post it.
All
That's
right,
cool.
all right.
And look,
Thank you, U.S. Army Garrison Fort Lee, for a warm reception, and be here tomorrow.